What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus check update, stimulus package, and infrastructure update and daily news report for Sunday, September 5th. So today we got a very interesting show. So I want to break down what happened over this past week, what we're seeing right now, new reports on COVID, on unemployment. We got some stuff to talk about regarding the Old Farmer's Almanac, all these new things that have come out just over the past few days. So if you've been watching all my videos, first off, thank you for doing that. Thank you for always hitting that like button. It really does help out the channel. But let's get into the update for today. First, earlier this week, President Biden said he supports additional stimulus. A lot of people just blew that out of proportion, saying he supported additional stimulus checks. That was not what he said. Now, he does support additional stimulus checks, and that's coming from the White House. However, he will not be the one that requests Congress to include those into the next bill. That will be on Congress, and if Congress decides to include it, and they do, okay, he would support it. He would sign off on that bill. However, President Biden has said that these two new infrastructure bills, these are going to be about the future. This is that $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill, or social package. President Biden said, "It's about investing in America's future, not about short-term stimulus. That's not what we're talking about. These are long-term prosperity we're talking about." So he wants long-term goals, not short-term stimulus. But we will see what actually happens. Now, after he was questioned a little bit, whether it was, and a lot of people want to know, is this really the right time to move away from stimulus? President Biden pretty much applauded the Federal Reserve for continuing with their $120 billion program per month to support additional stimulus, the bond buying program. What we know right now is that President Biden said, "We're going to create millions of good paying jobs. We're going to ease inflationary pressure." And they're going to do that by introducing infrastructure. However, a lot of lawmakers question whether this is the time to do infrastructure opposed to stimulus. What we know, and again, multiple reports are saying the exact same thing, is that yes, infrastructure is needed. It's very important. And Senator Bernie Sanders said this the other day. However, human infrastructure and stimulus is more important. This is child care, elder care, free community college, expanding Medicare, extending the child tax credit payments. That's more important than infrastructure at this time. But again, we will see. Now, some lawmakers say that more payments to the American people would not affect inflation. And again, remember, President Biden says he wants to ease inflationary pressure. But what we know is that spending too much, too quickly, could send inflation even higher. Millions are already worried about, high gas prices, rents, medications, food, and just the necessities. But we can't afford to have everything get even more expensive, especially in a time when today is the last day we see unemployment benefits. The last day for almost 8 million people. The last day for any income is today. That's not looking good. That is not good. But this is why many lawmakers say that additional payments to the American people are not going to affect inflation. We need to provide more assistance to those that are currently hurting. They say, as long as we go after the tax cheats, the rich and large corporations, then this is effectively going to cost nothing to the lower income earners. And now this similar statement was reiterated by multiple lawmakers. That as long as we go after, the rich, the wealthy, the large corporations, okay, if we do that, we can give out additional assistance to the lower income earners. I've been telling you this for months. I see an additional stimulus check in some fashion coming, whether it's a typical stimulus check, a tax credit that maybe we get in advance, right? There's a lot of things we can do here. We still have months left in the year, so there's some wiggle room that we got right now. But what we're seeing is Everybody is in support of providing additional assistance to the lower income earners. So that's going to be about 25 to probably 50 million people that are going to receive some form of stimulus. And it's going to happen. Again, I think it's going to happen, but it's going to happen to those that are making $40,000 to $50,000 or less per year. Okay? So if you fall within that category, chances are you're going to get something. Just keep that in mind. Now, let's get into the student loan news. We have been seeing a lot of people are pushing for student loan forgiveness. We've been seeing a lot of lawmakers are pushing for either it's a partial loan forgiveness or the full thing. We saw that they pushed for an extension of the payment pause. They got that included. That was an executive order. That was done. However, here's what we're learning today. We've been seeing the education department do a lot for borrowers over the past year, but there are some issues that slipped through the cracks. Here's the one that some people are saying they're pretty upset by. The other day, we learned that $40 million, about $40 million was garnished from borrowers, even though the education department prohibited garnishments. They said that $27.2 million was seized in May, and another $12.9 million was seized back in June of 2021. The education department, however, has stated that being that the order was retroactive to March 13, 2020, they are making that any wages garnished, any tax refund seized, or any payments made would be received in a full refund to those borrowers. So at least that's some good news there. Now, the unemployment news. We already know the unemployment benefits are going to expire for 7 to 8 million people today. This is really hard to, I know people that are on unemployment. I do. I know a lot of people that are on unemployment. And they're not on unemployment because they don't want to go back to work. They're not on unemployment because they just want to stay home or they're making more money on unemployment than going back to work. They're on unemployment because their business either closed down, their business doesn't want them back because they've figured out different ways to automate some of their jobs and their tasks, and then they push off the rest of their tasks onto other workers. But the main reason why they're not going back to work is because of childcare. They don't have people to watch their children. They can't go to work at 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, because their kids do not go to school until almost 9 o'clock in the morning. They don't have somebody to watch their kids. They can't get off work early at 3:20 or whatever to go pick up their kids from school. They don't have after-school daycare services, so they can't do that. There's a lot of issues. But according to many, we are going to see over this next week or two, just trying to talk about it. I feel for these people. I really do. But just over the next couple weeks, we're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to see if there needs to be an extension of unemployment benefits. There are still many lawmakers that are not opposing the extension of unemployment benefits, but they want to see what happens over the next few weeks. Will we see more people get back into the jobs search? Will more people go and get hired? Will businesses bring on new employees? We don't know. We're going to find that out very soon. But according to the Labor Department, they're saying this is the optimal time to do an unemployment system reform. They say that the American Rescue Plan, it allocated about $2 billion in funding to help them prevent fraud, ensure timely payments, and reduce inequities. So we're going to see what happens there. But I can tell you right now, there was billions of dollars stolen from the unemployed. A lot of it was coming from other countries, some people here within the U.S., here in this border, but there was a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fraud. Some people didn't get payments on time. Some people, as of today, just in the comments of some of my previous videos, some people are saying they are still waiting on unemployment benefits from months ago. That's crazy. Now, let's talk about the news from the Old Farmer's Almanac. They're saying that this winter is going to be called the season of shivers. They say that this winter will be one of the longest and coldest winters we've seen in years. This is mainly for the East Coast. Okay, mainly for the East Coast, a little bit with the middle of the country. However, they say the western part of the country, California, Oregon, Washington, it's going to be mild and dry. So, cold and wet on one side, mild and dry on the other. We're going to see what happens, but it could be interesting. Again, this is just their prediction. They're not always right, but we will see when we get there. Now, let's get into the COVID news. Reports today. The other day, I reported how California was seeing the first confirmed case of mu. Reports now indicate that 47 states have reported cases of the new COVID variant mu. That's not great. Remember, if you're not sure what this is, this new COVID variant, this actually has the potential properties to evade any immunity. So that means if you are previously infected with COVID, those antibodies aren't going to help you. If you receive the vaccine, there's a chance that vaccine is not going to help you. Well, 47 states have now confirmed cases. The only states that do not have one single reported case are Nebraska, Vermont, and South Dakota. Alaska has the highest percentage of mu cases at 4%. However, California has the most in terms of raw numbers with 232 reported cases. Experts say that they will continue to look after this new variant, and as we learn more, I promise I will fill you in on all those updates. But as of right now, we're still getting new reports. Also, according to reports, health experts, they can't decide what the end game for COVID is going to look like. They don't know. And I know people have been asking, what is the end game? When are we going to see mask mandates pretty much done away with? When are we going to stop pushing for vaccines? When can we go back to have huge stadiums just packed with people, no mask, high-fiving, no social distancing, no worries about COVID? Well, here's what we know. Some experts say, will it be when the death rate is the same as the flu? A lot of you guys have asked that same thing. When the death rate becomes the exact same as the flu, is that when this pandemic will be over? Well, health experts say maybe. But then they also ask, will it be called over when all children have the ability to get vaccinated? It's possible, but again, we don't know. Well, experts say the pandemic is over when the economy bounces back. According to some, they say yes. Once the economy bounces back, things are looking better. It won't matter what the death rate is. It won't matter because everything else will be going just great. But again, we will see. We don't know. But according to some experts, they say we're basically done with this pandemic. We're just about over. And in the next few months, we will be out of this pandemic. I don't see that happening. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I just don't see that happening at this time. But what we know is that nobody agrees with the next steps. Everybody has their own opinions. But where many experts agree is that the White House is going to use this opportunity. Get this. Experts are saying that where they agree is that the White House is going to use this opportunity to increase spending back into the economy. And that some say that this is the right move. They say they will push for more infrastructure and say it will help us rebound from this pandemic, which has already been the case. And they say that providing more for the American people is easier to do when millions of people are still suffering. So, while we're going through this pandemic, it's going to be so much easier to provide infrastructure and human infrastructure and additional stimulus, because without a pandemic, many moderates would not even consider this. It wouldn't even be in discussions at this time. So, the current administration could have something to do with when this pandemic is technically over. I think they're going to have a lot to do with when this pandemic is technically over. But until these two infrastructure packages pass, I don't see the pandemic being called over. I think we're still about a year away. So again, that's what we know right now. But as always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share more. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Have an incredible weekend as well. I will see you guys later on today. I can go spend some time with my family, do some chores around the yard, have a lot of fun stuff planned with that. But we will see what news breaks this afternoon. But again, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share more. Again, thanks for watching. If you do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.